is liquidity one of those things, volume, one of those things that you take into account whenever you're looking to maybe scalp a specific underlying, or what would you tell somebody looking to engage with the markets on an intraday basis?
You know what? Liquidity does matter. I actually had this conversation with a viewer because they were commenting that, because I was trading SLV this morning, and they're like, hey, there's a better moving having in Pan American Silver. To which I just pointed out, I'm like, yeah, it might be moving a little bit better now, but I'm never going to pick that over SLV when SLV is doing 5 times the volume. On a given day.
Right.
And as a day trader, a lot of time you're breaking a lot of ties with volume.
100%.
If I'm looking at 2 ways to express a trade, if it's going to move about the same, you just give me the one that's a better liquidity, because I just care more about when I want to get out. Am I getting the price that I want?
Yeah.
And can I feel really, really comfortable about that? And so that's why I like SLV. It's why I like IBIT as opposed to any of the other Bitcoin ETFs.
So with that being said, what's kind of on the menu today? What's on the radar today? What's been catching your guys' eyes? What's moving right now?
So it started out for me. Really, I was going to be thinking DRAM was going to be the play today.
Okay.
And it ended up not being, and ended up pivoting to silver and Bitcoin, just because of what happened overall in the market. I don't know if we can share my screen. I can tell you why I like DRAM.
Yeah, we can get this pulled up right here.
We should have it.
Let's see.
You let me know.
So we got it pulled up over here. Does that work right there for you? I'm on the intraday chart.
Let me see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I mean, you had yesterday. Yeah, like yesterday's high was at 57.5.
Yep. Just
right,
about.
and then right, and we're sort of looking like we were going to threaten that at about 8:30 when we broke higher. And of course, you have that Treasury story come out and get bullish toward the market. And I said, well, it's a pretty hefty gap if that one wants to try to fill it. So one of the first things I was thinking about was a potential breakout, but that's why you look at levels like that. One of my favorite things to say on the stream is the good thing about a breakout strategy is at least you don't have to force the trade if it doesn't go. So that ended up being a complete nothing burger, and for the first 5 or 10 minutes, I ended up sitting around just waiting to find relative strength as the Qs were dumping. And that's when I was already looking at IBIT, and then from there I also looked at SLV, because it just came down to the fact you were trending down in so many places, and instead of trying to pick the bottoms, because I believe the market would turn, instead of trying to pick the bottom, I'm like, let me just find something which is putting in some higher lows, maybe holding VWAP, and keep it very, very simple. That took me first to IBIT and Bitcoin, which obviously exceeded expectations today. I'm not going to pretend to say that I thought we'd go this far and we'd be sitting at 68,000. I didn't. But it was, you were testing, you did break the prior day high, like we saw in DRAM, and then you had a break of the volume weighted average price of the higher low at about 10 o'clock. It's about, because I got in at 9:54 when it was retesting the volume weighted average price on IBIT, not DRAM, sorry. If it's IBIT, if you can throw that up.
Oh, IBIT right there.
Yeah, IBIT. Because it was just too weak. But I used the volume weighted average price in and just before 10 o'clock. It was retesting VWAP, and then ran pretty clean. It was right around 65,000 or just underneath that it was trying to go. Did I expect this? No. Like, my play was simple. It was VWAP to about 37.2.
Right. So it's not that you expected exactly for the price action to play out this way, but you were looking for something to happen, and that's why you're paying attention to stocks that are currently quote unquote in play right now, because you're looking for something. Then you want to see if you can line up maybe the risk to reward, whatever it is that you're using, maybe the VWAP. So not that you know exactly what's going to happen, but you know where to find the stocks that are in play, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I just felt, look, at the end of the day, if treasuries are leading the market, then I sort of pivoted from looking at the chips to, again, I don't trade gold, I'll trade SLV. I pivoted to silver and gold, thinking that those would be some opportunities. And then when they started to bounce and hold VWAP, those were my 2 trades. Right. The VWAP to the high break, pretty simply. And the reason I use VWAP is it just gives you an area of interest in a trend to try to catch the dip.
Right.
And that's all you're really trying to do as a trader.
So are you a little bit more fond of maybe a volume-based indicator over something like a EMA or an oscillator, or does it not really matter? It just depends on the type of setup you're trading.
So in over 20 years, I've tried any and probably every indicator.
Right.
And
More than once,
on my chart, you're going to find I have volume on my chart.
Yeah.
I've got the volume weighted average price. On the intraday chart, I'll use a 3 and a 15, and those are the only two things I have on there. If I'm using a moving average, it's a 50 and a 200 on a daily, and that's just so I have an understanding of overall trend in the stock, and that can temper my expectations as to how far something might move.
Right.
But I'm never really, I don't really, and Sean on the show, he likes his moving averages and they work for him, but when I started, I was trading a lot of penny stocks when I first started out, and I was trying Fibonacci, everything, right. Bollinger Bands, like anything under the sun. I just found none of that stuff worked for me. That was very simple. I like mean reversion. I draw some trend lines, use volume weighted average price. I like if I like a stock for a support level, you show me a bottoming tail wick at a support level with a volume spike.
Yeah.
There you go. Keep it pretty simple.
I love the differences between you and Sean, especially you guys coming up, kind of coming up together using different tools, different aspects. What have you guys noticed between personalities? You guys notice one to be a little bit more of a directional trader, one to be a little bit more of a mean reversion trader. Do you guys both like to, take both of those type of opportunities in the market, or do you kind of find yourself gravitating towards, one type of market behavior a little bit more closely?
I'd say we're the most similar when it comes to support and resistance.
Okay.
I think we like to try to trade ideally around key price levels where you already know the market has interest and there's buyers here, there's sellers there, there's a shelf there, floor there. Like from a starting standpoint,
yeah.
I tend to like to use mean reversion more than I think Sean would, and especially in terms of I'll short things that have gone parabolic. He'll more likely, he'd rather probably buy the dip for reversion more than I would. So, but we still like to play those. He'll find a support level and like to play the reversion just as well. I probably just lean toward the short side of that more than Sean does. He's definitely more active scalp.
Okay.
In and out, have a feel for it, retape. Oftentimes, if I take a trade, I'll probably even have a target area in mind. I might say I'm getting in here, I'm risking 25 cents, and this is the 75-cent target. If I get the average out midway through on 4 or 5 outs, then I'm 2 to 1 on the trade. I'm much more that frame of mind because I like to just be more consistent, and not really swing as much on an intraday basis. Whereas, sometimes I'll also not let things go as far for that same reason.
But you notice those personality traits, whenever you get a lot of trades under your belt. And I even see a comment over here. Ryan says, 20 years of experience is incredible. Just surviving and living that long in the markets is a huge flex. So, I mean, what is one thing that you would leave us with when it comes down to longevity in the market? Is it protecting that downside? Well, we always hear that risk management. But what really produces longevity in this business, Neal?
You know what? It would be easy for me to say, make sure you have, before you get into any trade, whether it's having a hard stop or just a concept of what does it mean to be wrong in this trade.
Right.
Is it because of the prior bar candle break? Is it whatever moving average you're using? Is it the level 2? Ultimately that stuff doesn't matter. Everyone can find their own way to trade, which will lead me to the second point. But just you should know the concept of what does wrong mean that causes me to get out. You have to be able to answer that question before you get into a trade. The traders that get in before answering that tend to not last long, even when they have good reads and can make money. The second part that I learned humbly is the market doesn't care what you'd prefer to be doing. If I want to be a mega cap trend trader, the market doesn't care. If I'm no good at it, I'm no good at it. I started out as a penny stock trader because that's where I could read the market the best when I started out. And I didn't think, it was suggested to me to do that. They're like, the way you approach the market, have a look at these cheaper stocks. And then within 1 month, I was making money on them and realized that was just better for me for development. I've grown from there.
So would you argue, I don't mean to cut you off there, Neal, I apologize. No. But would you argue starting off in that penny stock niche really helped you with the volatility of the markets that you experience today? Because penny stocks are a little bit more volatile. And I mean, being able to anticipate where my trade thesis is being invalidated, all those kind of things, you get a little bit of a quicker feedback loop per se. So do you think starting in that environment kind of helped you grow as a trader in terms of volatility?
100% it did for me. But I can only speak for myself. Because for somebody else, maybe starting out on mid-cap stocks is what works for them.
Right.
Maybe for some traders, it's like they can't read day trading and they're only swing traders and intermediate. Like everyone has their own personality. Everyone is going to be able to see different types of patterns. We're not all the same. There's no one way to trade. And I completely reject when people say if you're a penny stock trader, you're not a real trader. If you're not trading Apple or Tesla, you're not a real trader. That's all trash.
Right.
Like, there is no one way to make money. And the only thing that matters is, are you making money? And if you're doing so and you're trading an instrument that's legal, obviously, then as long as you're making money and the strategy works for you, you shouldn't care at the end of the day. And I think a lot of times people get hung up on this is how I should be trading, or this is what I should be doing to be a real trader. That's all trash. There's a million ways you can do it. You can be an options trader if you want. You can be a crypto trader if you want. I'm all for any of it, even if I can't do. Like I've had no success trading options. I've never really done it. I'm not a Forex trader. I don't pretend to be, but it's all legit. It's as long as you're honest with yourself and understand what it means to be wrong in your setup, and that's a good foundation.
As we wrap here, Neal, leave us with something, and the rest of the traders here in chat for the rest of today's trading day. What are you keeping an eye on? What are you looking at? What are you most interested about in this market for the rest of this week?
Well, I think you got to keep it's unavoidable that we have to keep a close eye on the 30-year. Like we're going to have that auction at 1:00. That's going to matter a little bit more today. You got the Fed meeting minutes coming up. I'm probably going to wait till the back end of it. Like for what I'm watching right now, it's the double top on silver, because that's a trade I've been looking at. And certainly, if we get a good rejection, I'd like to play it back into VWAP, ideally before we get this 1:00 bond auction. But I think we have to be paying attention to that. We have a week to go till NVIDIA earnings, so for now my focus is going to be on the metals and treasuries to sort of lead the trade. And I don't want to get too, and Moderna is on the mind, but that's kind of fizzling out in terms of action. It'll probably make a move in the afternoon, but I'm not trying to predict what Moderna is going to do. That's a waste of time.
Trader mind right there. I'm not trying to predict that trader mind. I love it.